Hi, it's Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani's a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to this month's Project of the Month. It's our mini quilt where we complete our blocks entirely in the hoop. So let's go ahead and get started. I want you to take your left mouse cursor, place it over the Floriani icon on your desktop, and double left mouse click to open the Floriani program. When the Floriani program opens, the first thing you're going to see is our banner screen. Now we have this screen load every time you open the software. If you are connected to the internet, you're going to get a lot of very good information as this screen comes up. So as we load right now, we're going to go through what is on this banner screen. You can see I'm connected to the internet, and that's why I have all of this good information. The first thing on the right hand side of the page, I want you to notice it says New Release, click for details. Of course, you can click here and it will go ahead and tell you what's in the new release. Our latest version is right now at 3.32. So before you do that, you always want to make sure that you are not already at that current version. We have some other information on the left-hand side. We've got how to download our tutorial videos, our support forum, online manuals, software support. Now this is the link you'll click anytime that you have a question for our support desk. We've got our lessons from the master videos, which are Walter Floriani, all of his video tutorials, our facts, stabilizers, and threads, and then we have a little bit of a new heading on here that says Need Digitizing Help. This will take you to a digitizing company that will digitize designs for you. If you just don't have time to do that logo or get that design done, you can actually click here and it will take you to a website that will allow you to send them your artwork. Now if you look along the bottom of the page, you will see we have Create a New Design, Open a Design. This will open an existing design anywhere in your computer, on a jump drive, an external hard drive, a CD-ROM, anything you have designs stored on that are hooked to your computer, you can access those designs from here, including if the designs are in another program. If you have another software program that has a design file, you can still open the designs up into your Floriani software by using your Open a Design icon. Open Recently Used. This is for designs that you were working on, closed down your software, forgot where you left them, and when you click this, the last design you were working with will come up on screen so you can continue to work on it. Our What's New and our Help. Well, today we are going to create a new design. So I want you to left mouse click on Create a New Design. As you notice, my workspace just came up. Now this is my workspace. It is the space where my design will be, where I will work on it, edit it. And I want you to notice a few features. The first feature I want you to notice is the grid system. I use this grid system for everything. It is a wonderful tool, and it's a tool that I'd like you to get used to using. How you access our grid system and set it to what you need for the day is by our ruler bar. I have a ruler bar along the top and a down the left-hand side. If you just right mouse click on the ruler bar, you're going to get treasure. I call these boxes treasure because if you right mouse click, you're going to get a shortcut to a whole lot of options very easily. Now I do not want to work in metric. I do want to work in inches. So I'm going to left mouse click on the inches, and now you notice my ruler bar just changed to inches. I also want to make sure today I work in 1/4 of an inch squares because that gives me some kind of idea of what size my design is, because as I zoom in and zoom out, I will have a consistent unit of measure to look at. So again, I'm going to right mouse click. I am going to go to Grid Settings by left mouse clicking. And in here, I'm going to make sure it says 0.25. If I have my Maintain Aspect Ratio box selected, it will stay the same both horizontally and vertically. I'm happy with that. I am going to say OK. And now you will notice if I've got from 0 to 1 inch, I do have a quarter, half, 3/4, and a full inch. And you can see now as I zoom in and zoom out, I will not lose perspective of the size of my design. We're going to create a quilt block that is done totally in the hoop with all of its embroidery, batting, and backing. And then in our construction phase of our project, we'll show you a real neat way to put those together. So let's go ahead and go. I want you to come down your top toolbar until you reach your artwork tool. Now I'm going to left mouse click on the down arrow. I am going to left mouse click on the rectangle. Now how do I know that I selected a rectangle? It is stuck to my cursor. The Floriani software is very visual so that we can work together even if we're working together over a distance. I may need to talk to you on the phone, or you may get in with the help desk, and we know where you are because we have made this extremely visual. So with having that rectangle, I am going to hold down my left mouse button and I am going to just drag. I'm just going to let it go. I don't have a specific size in mind at this moment. Once I let go, you notice that I have a rectangle on my screen. It has defaulted to color number 1, which is the blue. And now what I want to do with this is I'm going to come up to the top of my left-hand toolbar and I'm going to left mouse click on my select tool. This will put control boxes all around my artwork square. And the reason I make the distinction it is an artwork square is this is not stitches, it's not a design. It's like I took a pencil and drew on the screen. But we will work with that until it does become stitches today. So now that I have selected it, I am going to come over here and you're going to notice the minute I select any object on the screen, anything I can do to deal with that object comes up right here in my properties section on your upper left hand portion of your screen. I am going to left mouse click on the transform key because I know exactly which size I want this box. Now I'm not going to ask it to maintain the aspect ratio, so I'm going to left mouse click and deselect that option. I am going to type in 4.5 inches and 4.5 inches. Now we are going to create a block that finished is 4 inches by 4 inches. You are only limited by the size of your hoop. Now I have selected this size block so that even if your largest hoop is a 5 by 7, you will have no problems completing this project. However, those of you that may have larger hoops, you can make this block to accommodate the size hoop you have if you wish. We are going to now apply that. You will notice I'm going to come up to the top about a third of the way down. This is my view box. I'm going to left mouse click on the down arrow and I'm going to tell this to fit to screen. So now you can see that I have a 4.5 inch square. The next thing I'm going to do with this square is I am going to right mouse click with it selected and I'm going to come down to my convert. I am going to turn this artwork into stitches. So I'm going to come over here to my run stitch and I'm going to left mouse click and select it. Now you notice the minute I did that, my properties box came up for my run stitch. I have my stitch length here in millimeters. I have my type. This is just a standard run stitch. Now that I have that done, I want you to take this with it selected and right mouse click again. We are now going to copy by left mouse clicking on copy. I will right mouse click and I will left mouse click on paste. I have just pasted one square on top of another. I can tell that because down here in my sequence view, you can see I now have 2 run stitches. This is my first square, this is my second. To make sure I've got my second square selected, I am going to left mouse click on it, and I am going to rotate it. Well, I've got it clicked, and it's allowing me, it will allow me to change any text I want in here if I wanted to. That was not my intention, so I'm going to click away, and I'm going to click on it again, and it has selected the square. And I am going to come over here onto my left hand toolbar. We're going to go to our last tool, and we are going to left mouse click on rotate right. Now you can see I have my first run stitch is the first square we created. Now the second square we created, I rotated it. Now I need to change the size of this square. So again, I am going to right mouse click and go to transform. And I want to also change this to 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And I'm going to apply that. Now I want you to notice now how nicely this is done. I have an outline of my square, and I now have a square on point inside it. We are going to create a snowball block in our hoop. We are going to put numbers in this block because we are going to lay our fabric down as if we were paper piecing. So I want you to come and I want you to left mouse click on your text tool, and we are keeping everything the same color at this point. Left mouse click on your text tool, click on your screen, and you will see your text comes up. I want you to put the number 1 in here. We are going to select for our stitch type, we are going to select Arial 4mm. I am going to make that lettering 0.50, half an inch tall, and I'm going to apply that. And right there you see my number 1. I'm just going to move it where it's convenient, it doesn't matter. So there is our number 1. Now if you will come up into your upper left hand corner and click your lettering tool, you're going to see that we've clicked up here. I want to go ahead and put in the number 2. Again, changing the height of my letter to half an inch and apply that. I will just move it to where it's convenient in here. I'm going to come down and click in my bottom left hand corner. I am going to put the number 3 in here and apply that. Oops, I didn't change the size. Let's change the size, 0.5, apply that. I'm going to just set that down in here. I am going to come over to my next section on the bottom right, left mouse click, and you will have to left mouse click twice to keep deselecting the letter that you just put in before it, or in this case the number. We're going to put 4 at half an inch, apply. I'm going to left mouse click so it deselects the one down here, and left mouse click again. I have got my letter up here. I'm going to put number 5 again at half an inch, and we will apply that. So what I have created thus far is we now have, and I am going to go ahead and get my select tool because I no longer need my alphabet tool stuck to my cursor. What we've got here is we are going to hoop up our batting and our stabilizer, and this is going to stitch out directly onto that. So it's going to stitch this out square, it's going to stitch our on point square, and then it's going to put the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so we can put in our fabric. And I want you to notice we're going to look at the sequence view today. We're going to get more familiar with this. I want you to notice under this color, which is my blue, you're going to see a negative, a little minus sign, an eyeball, a lock, and it says color 1 Floriani polyester 385 Niagara. Now if you have a different thread palette other than Floriani selected, this will not be a Floriani color. It'll be whatever your default thread palette is. If I click on the minus sign by left mouse clicking, it will close. Now you can see it just looks like my color, but if I want to see what I have done within that color, I am going to left mouse click on the plus sign and it will now open up the tree. As you can see, we have our first run stitch we put down, our second square, there it is on point, and here is my number 1, my number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is a really nice way if you need to select an aspect of your design even within a color. It makes it very easy to get to it. Now the next thing we're going to do is what we will actually be doing in our hoop is we're going to lay a piece of fabric down in space number 1, and it will extend beyond the edges of the stitch line, and it will be right side up. We will then need to stitch that down. So the easiest way to do this is to select this square, our second run stitch, and we are going to right mouse click and copy. I'm going to right mouse click and paste. Now with that pasted, I am going to change the color. So I'm going to come to color number 2, right mouse click on it, and now you will notice we have got in our sequence view, we have our blue, we have our first run stitch, our second run stitch, and now we had copied and pasted and created a third run stitch, which we changed to red. Well, for me, this is now out of order. So I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to just hold down my left mouse key and drag it to the bottom of everything and let go. So now we've got everything stitching down. I've laid my fabric down and now it will get tacked down with color number 2. Once we have tacked this down, we're going to lay a triangle of fabric, another piece of fabric, right sides together, matching up our raw edges here. And so we need to stitch it down along this stitch line. So I want you to come up and get your run tool. It's on your top toolbar. You have your manual tool and the one that looks like a little backwards C that is black. I want you to left mouse click on that. As soon as you do that, in your properties box, it's come up telling us that we do have our run stitch selected. So with that selected, I am going to change my color. I am going to right mouse click on color number 3, which in this case is green, and I am going to put my cursor right up here at the top of this. I'm going to left mouse click, drag my cursor down. I'm going to left mouse click at the end, and then I will right mouse click, and I now have created, if you look in our sequence view, I've now created a single run stitch in green. So now that I have sewn the two fabric seams together, I will fold that fabric back and I need to tack it down. So with my run stitch selected, I'm going to come down here and I am going to right mouse click on color 2. We're going to go back to color 2. And I have this wonderful grid system, remember. So I know from here to here is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to come down from this corner 1/2 inch, which would be 2 blocks. I'm going to left mouse click. I'm going to come up 1/2 inch, left mouse click, and come over to the right and left mouse click. Now I will right mouse click, and I have created a little tack down stitch right along actually our seam line, because if this is a 4.5 inch block finished 4 inch, we know that our seams will run on these 1/4 inch lines. So I have now held down this piece of fabric. So we are going to repeat the process. Now we need to put in our fabric in space number 3. So we are going to, again, our run stitch is still selected. We're going to right mouse click on color number 3 at the bottom. We are going to go ahead and left mouse click come down, left mouse click at the bottom. Now right mouse click to create those stitches, and there you see it in your sequence view. That fabric will get folded back. We need to create another tack down stitch. So again, we will right mouse click on color number 2. We will come up 1/2 inch from the corner and 1/4 inch over, left mouse click, and left mouse click. Now I will right mouse click. So now I've tacked that piece down. Again, let's come down, right mouse click on color number 3. And the reason we are changing color every time is so your machine will stop in between. Left mouse click, right mouse click. We have sewn that fabric together. Now we're going to go ahead and go back to our red. Right mouse click on your red. Again, up 1/4 inch, over 1/2 inch from the corner. Left mouse click, left, and left. Now right mouse click. There's your stitches created. And one last time, we are going to come down and right mouse click on our green. Left mouse click, right mouse click. We've created that last sew down stitch, and now one more tack down stitch. So let's right mouse click on our red. Again, down 1/4 inch, over 1/2 inch from the corner. There we go. Left mouse click, and right mouse click. Now we need to add a basting stitch, because now we are going to, before we add in the embroidery, I want to go ahead and put the basting in here that's going to baste the top of your block to that back piece of fabric. So what we're going to do is come up here using your tree. You can go ahead and select our first run stitch. And with selecting that stitch, we are going to right mouse click, copy, right mouse click, and paste. Now it's given us a third run stitch right here. We just added it in. So I will select that. I will go ahead and right mouse click on my green, because I'm going to change it to color green, and I am going to grab this and I am going to drag it down, possibly here, to the very bottom, and we're going to let that go. So now that is going to be, whoops, I'm going to change it to red, excuse me. That is going to be the very last thing we do before we go ahead now and digitize our embroidery design that's going to go on our block. We have actually sewn all of our fabric down in the hoop to our batting. We are now ready to create an embroidery inside our design. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and create an embroidery in here so that our design is all finished and quilted in the hoop. So the next step we're going to do is we are now going to use our Complex Fill tool. I'm going to come on my top toolbar and I'm going to move on down to the orange trapezoidy thing. That is our Complex Fill. And again, I want you to note that all of our stitch types are color and shape coded so that we can communicate easily. So I want you to left mouse click on your Complex Fill icon, and we are now going to select a different color. And I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to pick color number 8. I want it totally separate from the other colors. So I will right mouse click on that color, and with my Complex Fill selected, you notice in my properties box everything I can do just came up. We are going to come up to our top center. I am going to left mouse click. I'm going to come to the center of my design. I'm going to create a triangle. I'm going to left mouse click. We're going to come over to the edge, left mouse click, and you don't even have to close the shape all the way. The software will do the rest. So left mouse click. Now that we have got the shape defined, right mouse click, and you see I have a solid tatami stitch in here. I don't want that. I want to have a nice pattern on my fabric. So I am going to hit my select tool, and the reason I'm going to the select tool is I want to show you whenever you digitize, the last thing you digitize, if you go to your select tool, that's the top tool on your left hand toolbar, and left mouse click, it will automatically select it. If you are working in your design and you've moved on, you can come over into our sequence view, and again you can left mouse click on it and it will select it. So you have those two ways to select, as well as, I'm going to click off of it, if I just put my cursor on it and left mouse click, I can also select it that way. So there are several ways to select. Certainly my favorite way is using the sequence view. With that selected, I am going to first change my fill type. We have standard fills, your emboss or fancy fills. We are going to use a motif fill. So let's left mouse click on motif. I want you to come to your drop down arrow in your pattern, and I have selected pattern 115. Now you can select a different pattern, but be very careful not to select an extremely dense, heavy pattern, because then your fabric won't show through and you won't have the same effect. So I'm going for our exercise today, we're selecting 115 by left mouse clicking on it. Now with motif, my pattern selected, make sure you come down here and apply it. Left mouse click on apply, and as you can see, I have a pretty motif fill in here. Now I'm going to take this motif fill, and I could draw it again down here. We could practice our drawing skills, or we can, with it selected, right mouse click, copy it, right mouse click, left mouse click on paste, and then I am just going to come and I am going to rotate by putting my cursor on my bottom tools, and it doesn't matter whether you want to go right or left. Just left mouse click, left mouse click, left mouse click, and left mouse click. You have now rotated that around. With it rotated, the minute you put your cursor in here, when it turns to a hand, it says I'm grabbing it. So let's, with your hand on there, hold down your left mouse key and just pull this into position using those grid lines to position your little triangle here. Now you notice I've got a triangle here and a triangle here. So now it's made our on-point block look like we have pieced it. So we now have a design on a solid piece of fabric. Well, the next thing I want to do is, once this is stitched out, we're going to actually, after we have completed making our blocks, piecing our block together, we're going to put our backing behind our hoop, our back piece of fabric, and we are then going to stitch in these decorative stitches to actually quilt that block together, and so it will be finished on both sides. I also am going to need to do some kind of quilting to quilt down these corners. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and get your rectangle tool. We're going to go ahead and select our artwork tool again. I am going to select color number 8. Make sure you've right mouse clicked on it. And we are going to come to this corner we have right here already done. And we are going to draw a rectangle and fill that in, leaving that 1/4 of an inch around all of it. And you know, I have done it wrong, because that is going to be our stitch line. So what we are going to do here is we are going to reselect it, and we are just going to pull it in and make sure that it's actually there we go. And as you can see, I'm using my handles to make sure I'm centered in this block. I need to come bring this one up. And as you can see now, we're almost there. Well, You know what? We're going to start over because I'm not doing a very good job of this. So let's go ahead and delete this by pushing the delete key on your keyboard with it selected. And let's go back and try this again. We are going to come in here. All right. What we need to do is go ahead and grab our artwork tool, our rectangle. We've got our same color. Now right here we don't have a seam allowance. So I want this 1/4 of an inch away from the center of my square. But up here, this is my seam line. So I'm going to have to stop 1/2 an inch away from the top. But we have our grids to guide us. So I'm going to click right here, left mouse click, and I am going to drag this up until I've got my square right there. There we go. Now you can see that this is going to quilt this down. This will be my seam line, and I will be 1/4 of an inch away all the way around. So I am going to select this. I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I am going to convert it into a run stitch. Now that I've converted it to a run stitch, I am going to take this same square and I am going to go ahead and place it. I'm going to right mouse click, copy it, right mouse click and paste, and now I'm going to drag that pasted square down that I just lost. That's why I like my sequence view. I will select the second one I did, grab it with my hand, and we are going to go ahead and place it here. So now it will stitch this down, it will stitch this down, whoops, undo is my friend, and then it will do our little quilted squares down. The next thing I want to do is I also want to do the same thing in here. I want to go ahead and quilt down in these outside corners as well. So I'm going to again select this. I will right mouse click, copy, right mouse click and paste, and I will go ahead and drag this up here just the same. We're just going to place it right in there. And I'm going to do the same thing one more time. Right mouse click, copy, right mouse click and paste. With it pasted, we're going to grab it with our hand and we are going to move it into here as well, using those grid lines to guide us. Now we have got these 4 squares, and I just created them at random, and look at what a mess I have. Do you see how we've got all these jump stitches? Now we can put in trims, your machine may trim, but I did that because I want you to see that we need to create designs in a logical order. So seeing as I don't like the order that I digitized it in, because I went here, then I went here, I went over, we can either move it around in our view. We did this one first. What did I do second? Actually, I should have come straight across and around. So we did him first. We've got this one second. That's out of order. So I'm going to go ahead and move him down, because he shouldn't be there. I'm just going to grab it and drag it. So now I've got this one. Who's second now? Still not in the right spot. I think he's going to have to be in below as well. So now let's look at our order. There's our first square, our second square, our third square, and our fourth square. And you notice it cleaned up a lot of those problems that we just had with our jump stitches. Now I'm also going to select this square and this square, this square and this square. We've got all of our squares, and I actually have decided I would like them to stitch out first before my complex fills, because as you see that if I stitch my fill, this is going to stitch on top of it, and I don't want it to do that. So that is these 4 that we've selected. So we can move 4 or we can move 2. We're going to move 2. So see my complex fill and my complex fill. So what I'm going to do, since this is the last square that finishes, that's going to be the first complex fill I want to stitch out. So I'm going to grab this, drop it at the bottom, get this one, and drop it at the bottom. Now we could have digitized it correctly in the correct order to start with, but the reason I've done this is I want you to get used to using your sequence view to move things around when something's not just right, instead of deleting it and starting over. Now, as you can see, we have completed this block. So let's go ahead and really look at our sequence view. I'm going to right mouse click and tell it to collapse everything. So the first thing we can look at in our sequence view is we can look at everything in its color order. Well, it's going to stitch down our base onto our stabilizer. It's going to tack down our first piece of fabric. It's going to sew down the next piece. It's going to tack it. And you notice every time we've changed colors because we want to make sure that machine stops so you have time to lay your fabric down, flip it back out. So as you can see, as we go through, we can see exactly how this was digitized. Now let's come back up to our color number 1, hit our plus sign. Now this shows us everything that's stitching out in color number 1 kind of put together. But now I can see there's that first run stitch around the outside of my square. There is my center. There are my numbers. I am now going to lay down my fabric, tack it down. And you notice under this, all I have is one run stitch under each of these because I only did one thing under each color. So we could look under each and every one of these colors and see exactly what type of stitch I used, and everything I'm doing when I select that, I can change anything I want to about that stitch. If I wanted to change the stitch length, the type, I could do all of that now. And we're going to come down and do that in color number 8. When we come down to color number 8, we have our run stitches. Now these are going to be quilting stitches. Now what I have found is when you are putting a little run stitch, and we're going through this batting and everything, we want to make that real pretty and defined. So I do not want this to be a single run. So I am going to select, and I can hold down my control key, and I can select all 4 of these with my control key held down and left mouse clicking on each one. I can get all 4 of them selected even within the color, and I can come up here, and I do not want a standard. I want this to be a bean stitch, so I'm going to select bean. I want to change my stitch length to 3.5 millimeters, and if I don't apply it, it's not going to happen. So I am going to apply that. So now you can see we are going to look. I want you to just pick any of these other run stitches at random. If I select this run stitch, do you see it's a standard at 3 millimeters? Come down to our last color and select one of these. It's now 3.5 and it's a bean stitch. A bean stitch is a triple stitch. That is a commercial term for what we call in our market a triple stitch. So you can see how easily we have moved around, manipulated, and changed things in this design very easily using our sequence view. Now for this project you can actually use one color of thread throughout the whole project if you wish, because it is going to stop here, but you don't need to change the thread on your machine each and every time. I hope you've enjoyed creating a hoop in the block. A block in the hoop. We will get to the construction phase next, and I know you're going to enjoy this. I want to thank you for coming to our project of the month, our mini quilt block in the hoop. Thank you.